When I think you were... How do people do this? How do people talk to a camera like it's not weird? I don't know how to do that. I don't have a ring light. Am I supposed to have a ring light? Is that necessary when you're filming yourself? Probably. I'm trying to use the sun, and then I'm worried I'm not going to finish in time, and the lighting's going to be different, and that seems like a faux pas. Wow, who thought this was a good idea? Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in to my first YouTube video. I don't know how this is gonna go, but I have a camera, I have a tripod, I have kind of a microphone. I don't know if it's a very good microphone. I feel like it's probably not a good microphone. But yeah, let's see how this goes. I don't know if it's gonna work, but we're gonna certainly give it a shot. So my video today, I wanted to talk about Josh Lyman as a character and what I think makes him such a strong, dynamic character. I think he has a lot of strengths. I think he has a lot of weaknesses, and I think worth taking a deeper dive into. So here we go.
Josh Lyman's special.
The first aspect of his character that I find to be very compelling is how kind Josh is. I think at Josh's core, he is a very kind character. You can see this throughout the show in multiple examples across different relationships. One of the first relationships that comes to mind is Sam Seaborn. Josh with Sam throughout the show, like they're clearly best friends and they get along very well.
I'm not gonna let you down.
You never do.
And because of that, you see the softer side of Josh come out.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry, buddy. I know you're supposed to be sleeping today.
No, it's no problem. What's going on?
One example is in 20 Hours in America when Sam is tasked with taking over Josh's responsibilities for the day. Josh calls him on the phone and he, tells him all the things he has to do. And Sam's like, I don't know that I can do this. Like, I'm not going to know what I'm talking about. And then Josh, the whole time on the phone, is very reassuring. He takes steps to try and make Sam feel more comfortable.
There are going to be any number of areas in which I can't give him expert advice.
Welcome to the club, partner. We got jackets.
I think that's a really great display of Josh's friendship with Sam. And I think you can also see Josh's kindness displayed later in the series as well. In season 6, when the Santos campaign is running out of money, Matt and Helen propose that they refinance their mortgage to try and get money back into the campaign. And Josh, despite putting his all into this campaign, despite putting everything he has into trying to make Matt Santos the nominee for president, he adamantly is against them doing this.
Don't sign this.
We're not sending them to the bank unless we have to. Just want to make sure we're covered for Texas.
It's your financial future.
He is very driven, we know that. He's very determined to make things happen at any cost, it seems sometimes. But when it comes to the Santos' financial future, Josh understands that this is clearly more important than the campaign because he can't promise that he can make Matt Santos president. And that's another great example of Josh at his core being a very good person. And another example from season 6, when we fast forward a little bit, Matt Santos has won the nomination at the Democratic Convention. There's a scene where we see Josh, who has just won the nomination with Santos. He could be off celebrating, doing, God knows what, because he's earned it, because he's obviously taken this dark horse candidate all the way to the nomination. And instead of him going crazy celebrating, we see him bringing beers to Donna and Will, as opposed to gloating over them, bragging about what he achieved. He decides to take a step back and remember his friends, and instead he enjoyed a quiet night with them.
It gives me a great pleasure to introduce to you the leaders of our party and the next president and vice president of these United States.
Another personality trait of Josh's that I find to be very compelling and goes a long way to describing who he is as a character would be loyalty. And I think if you had to pick one trait to define Josh, loyalty would be the one.
Josh doesn't leave people.
I think it's the thing he values the most in other people within the show, among his friends. It's something that just really drives him as a person. And we see this in a few different examples. The whole storyline with Leo, when Leo is threatened by Claypool, and this whole pending drug addiction story hitting the press, Josh is very, very protective.
You're Leo McGarry. You're not gonna be taken down by this small fraction of a man.
He even gets to the point where he gets physical with another person because that person is threatening Leo.
And the notion of you standing up for a man so egregiously unqualified. Listen, Josh!
Go.
He's known Leo his whole life, and that clearly shows in his loyalty to this character. With like even smaller moments that are more humorous moments when Donna has the whole NSA plot where when they try and redact Donna's credentials, and Josh is like, I would vouch for Donna with my life. He doesn't hesitate to put his title on the line to vouch for Donna.
Mr. Lyman?
I would vouch for Donna with my life. She doesn't know about missiles. She's from Wisconsin.
We see so many examples of this. In the Santos campaign, Santos is struggling in New Hampshire, and Jed Bartlett gets on the phone to Josh to be like, hey, you should talk about these stats about, how I failed as a governor when I was in charge in New Hampshire. And instead of using these stats that could easily help his candidate, Josh's loyalty to President Bartlett comes through, and he just straight up burns them and doesn't use them.
I haven't done enough. Might as well be me. See you when you visit Washington sometime?
Yes, sir. Sometime.
That's also very indicative of the loyalty that Josh feels towards those who are important to him and the establishment that he's working for. Another personality trait that is very important when you're talking about Josh Lyman as a character would be arrogance. That's quite clear. It's part of the humorous side to Josh. It's part of, what makes him so effective in his job. A very important factor to this side of his personality that can often be overlooked. In the words of Donna Moss, you have to get Josh.
You have to get Josh.
When it comes to the professional side of Josh Lyman, we see his arrogance all the time. We see victory is mine.
Great day in the morning, people. Victory is mine.
Morning, Josh.
I drink from the keg of glory, Donna. Bring me the finest muffins and bagels in all the land.
The arrogance that Josh shows is something that's necessary for him to function well within his job. For him to be labeled as Bartlett's bulldog, he's going to have a lot of bravado, a lot of ego to get these things done. The important distinction is when it comes to personal relationships and his friendships within the staff and with people outside of the White House as well, that the arrogance is still there, but it's mostly there in a comedic sense, in a way to keep the attitude light when he brags about his SAT scores.
I was impressed that you knew what polyglot meant.
760 SAT word, baby.
He's not doing it to really establish any concrete points rather than just joke around with Donna or with CJ. And if he ever goes too far within his core group of people that he cares about, he'll regret it. With the scene with CJ where they get into a war of words.
You know what, CJ? I really think I'm the best judge of what I mean, you paranoid Berkeley shiksa feminista. Well, that was way too far.
He realizes immediately that he goes too far and he takes it a step back. Josh is quite good at checking himself when he does step over the line. One storyline that really establishes this dynamic between the arrogance between his professional life and his personal life is the shutdown arc in season 5. This does a great job at depicting Josh's personal and professional life. I have a lot of problems with season 5 through 7 for some other reasons. That'll be a video for another day. I also really love seasons 5 through 7, but Josh has... Anyway, we see Josh's arrogance kind of get the better of him in the shutdown arc when he goes too far with Carrick. Even though Carrick was asking for something ridiculous, it ends up having dire consequences for Josh and the Democratic Party when Carrick decides to leave. He fucks up big time when Carrick leaves the party, and this is an example of him going too far. But what happens afterwards and his relationships with the people who are disciplining him afterwards, namely Leo, is really important because Leo comes down on him pretty hard. I don't know if we see a more... Well, I guess Toby. Toby at the end of season 7 is pretty... That's pretty harsh. He almost goes to jail. So let me backtrack a little bit. But Leo is pretty harsh with Josh when it comes to the whole fallout from Carrick leaving the party. He even goes as far to say at one point that nobody wants you here, and really kind of lays down the line on how Josh fucked up.
No one wants you here.
Josh doesn't get defensive about this. He doesn't fight Leo on it. Josh's response is he tries a little too hard to fix the situation, but he never really gets petulant. He never really tells Leo that he disagrees with what Leo is doing. This is the side of Josh that, like, the more personal side where he accepts when he fucks up, you know, when it's not, when Celestial Navigation isn't the episode. He mostly takes responsibility for when he fucks up.
Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do that, except, yes, I did that.
But this is a scenario where he's very bashful, he's very regretful about what happened, and he mostly just takes his medicine. He's not fighting back hard against Leo's punishment towards him. I think a big part of Josh's personality and who he is as a character is defined by his tragic backstory and his present tragic backstory, let's be honest. He kind of doesn't catch a break very often. It makes the softer, kinder side to him much more compelling. We know as an audience what Josh has been through in the past. His loyalty is sprung from the loss of his sister and the perceived guilt that he feels over that incident. We also see his loyalty to his friends in the NSA episode when he gives his card back.
I didn't want to be friends with you and have you not know.
Josh, have you been upset about this?
Yes.
You're very sweet sometimes, you really are.
Because Josh doesn't want to be protected when they are not. It's clear that his loyalty to others really springs from where he feels like he failed somehow as like an 8-year-old, which is, you know, obviously not Josh's fault, but he likes to blame himself. Something we also know about Josh Lyman. He also can't cope very well with letting people down. President Bartlett and Leo put it quite succinctly in their two quotes where Leo talks about how Josh is a compulsive fixer.
I'm gonna help you, because you know why?
Because you walk around with so much guilt about everybody you love dying that you're a compulsive fixer?
And then President Bartlett says that Josh can't cope with the fact of letting Leo down.
You're not willing to toss it overboard to win. You're willing to toss it overboard to avoid disappointing Leo.
If you're writing a book on Josh Lyman, you're gonna have like a chapter about both of these. Does that mean I should have had a separate segment for both of these? I can't do a separate segment for both of these. Oh my god. Okay. And then you also have the added layer of Rosalind and then the PTSD that follows because of the shooting that happens. The Shadow of Two Gunmen is basically the just bully Josh Lyman episode where we have to see him lose his dad and then he gets shot. It's very brutal. Like, you know, like damn, that's a lot for a character to go through in a single, well, I guess 2 episodes, but.
You know where the hell you... I need a doctor!
And there's been a lot of suffering with Josh that really informed his decisions going forward as a character. One episode I always find compelling because of Josh's past and all the things that he has gone through is Holy Night in season 4. I think Bradley Whitford's performance in this episode is underrated. It's a great example of the understated trauma that Josh goes through because he's not actively suffering as we see in Noelle. He's not having flashbacks, he's not putting his hand through a window, but he is quiet and understated in this episode in a way that we don't typically see from Josh, who can be very boisterous and very energetic. This episode really portrays him in a softer, subdued way. It's all of his kind of traumas culminating together and this idea of him wanting Toby to appreciate the fact that his dad is still around and his dad can be a relationship that he can still mend. Because Josh has lost 2 family members that were extremely important to him, obviously with his sister and then his father passing away. And then he knows the pain that Toby doesn't quite know yet. So he wants Toby to understand, and I find that that is a decision that is obviously driven by the things that Josh has gone through.
I appreciate that that's what you think. Do I get to think what I think? No, you don't, because you don't know what I know. What? That I would give anything to have a living father who was a felon or a sister with a past.
The desperation that we hear in Josh's voice when he's explaining to Toby why he did all this is quite clear, and I think it really points to how strongly Josh is still dealing with those losses that he's suffered in his life. The experiences that Josh has been through are really the building blocks as to what makes him who he is as a character, and I think Nobody puts it better than Donna Moss.
His sister died in a fire while she was babysitting him. She tried to put it out, he ran outside. He went off campaigning, his father died. He wakes up in the hospital and discovers the president's been shot. He goes through every day worried that somebody he likes is gonna die and it's gonna be his fault. What do you think makes him walk so fast?
Let's talk about Josh and Donna. The full spectrum of Josh's character, I think the good and the bad, can be viewed through his relationship with Donna Moss. We often see him being exceedingly kind to Donna when we see him give her the book.
Thank you.
I meant it.
When we see him offer to pay her rent without even a moment's hesitation.
Rent's due end of the month.
I'll lend you money.
We see him being just a good boss in general. For example, when Donna lets the name slip in season 4, episode Guns Not Butter.
I said the names.
I don't think it mattered. She knows how to count to 51.
I want to loosen things up for an hour. I'm sorry.
I'll shake it off.
Donna makes a mistake, and Josh is not one to begrudge her for that mistake. Josh is very kind about it. He tries to reassure her to make sure Donna doesn't beat herself up too much about it. That's very indicative about how he is as a boss in general. He knows that Donna is extremely efficient, and she's such an asset to him and the work that he does that he's not going to bother. He knows that she made a mistake, she knows that she made a mistake, so he's not going to waste time trying to make her feel bad about that. We often see him being exceedingly kind to Donna, but of course we also see him being kind of a dick to Donna too at times. I often see claims of Josh being called misogynistic towards Donna, and while I definitely think there are moments where this is true and it's pretty undeniable, I think it's not fair to paint him with that brush as a full character because of a few different reasons. So one of the things I see often cited as a fault of Josh is how he often explains things to Donna. It's often compared to mansplaining, which I don't find to be quite true to life because, first of all, Josh is being asked these things by Donna. Of course, this is a way for Sorkin to help inform the audience as much as he's informing Donna herself within the show, a plot device to help everybody understand and everyone be on the same page. And Josh, of course, explains a lot of things to Donna, but Donna is brand new to politics. I know as somebody who was kind of a dumbass when it came to politics before I watched The West Wing, I didn't do government classes in high school. I don't know if that's a fault of the whole Michigan Board of Education or what, but like Betsy DeVos was in charge of us for a while, so that's, you know, its own story. I didn't know about government before I watched West Wing, and the questions that Donna were asking I thought were all pretty legitimate questions. I don't think you can learn all there is to know about government within, like, you know, the few years that she's been there. So I think it's quite acceptable that Donna would be asking all these questions. And when she does ask these questions, Josh is always very receptive to these questions and he's very eager to teach her. He takes the time, he never just brushes her off to be like, well, this is annoying, how do you not know this? Josh always takes the time to fully explain the situation to her and he wants her to learn and understand. Fucking nailed it. Getting better. The boundaries that are set between Josh and Donna is another important factor when it comes to their relationship. And when it comes to these claims of, is Josh stepping over the line a little bit? The flirty banter between them is always present, but the fact that it goes both ways is very important. Donna will blatantly flirt with Josh and call him a very handsome and powerful man to get what she wants.
On the other hand, you're a very handsome man.
What do you need?
You're a very powerful and a very handsome man.
Because she knows that their relationship is one where talk like that is acceptable, because Josh knows that she's not trying to actually go over the line, it's just within the realms of what they deem as acceptable. Josh blatantly will flirt back. They have a very HR problematic relationship in general, but within the two people that are involved, whenever Josh does step over the line, Donna, this fucking chair is very creepy. Whenever Josh does step over the line, Donna is very quick to call him out on these things. She does it in ways, again, that HR probably would not deem appropriate when she grabs him by the ear.
Donna, in the scheme of things, who really cares?
Do you have any idea how painful it is?
Yes.
Another example of this is when Donna writes the notes up for him about James Madison, and Josh initially is very dismissive and frustrated, thinking that Donna didn't get him what he needed. But Donna calls him out on this and tells him that the James Madison notes are gonna help you. And then Josh accepts the fact that he was wrong, that he stepped over the line, and he's apologetic about it.
I gave you some good stuff on James Madison and the
James
terror.
Madison?
And the terror
You asked
individual.
for a damn social studies paper. I
Don't
wanted...
snap at me, Josh.
Donna...
Look at the memo. I gave you what you asked for. Don't snap at me.
I wasn't snapping at you. I didn't realize that you also gave me the stuff I asked for. I thought it was just... You know, I thought you just gave me James Madison.
Outside of his relationship with Donna, he also does this with CJ. There's a moment where he comes back to her, you know, I think a couple hours after he said something that he didn't find sat right with him afterwards, and he apologized. CJ didn't ask for the apology, but Josh willingly offered one, which I think, especially within the realms of the West Wing, is quite a notable thing, because it's not something we see very often.
I'm sorry I got in your face before.
Our numbers are less than yeasty.
They are.
Josh is a character that when he steps over the line and he's called out on it, or sometimes even when he's not called out on it, he's willing to accept that he made a mistake. One part of Josh's character that's also very compelling is the fact that we have Bradley Whitford playing him. He is clearly a very talented actor. I know that Aaron Sorkin wrote this role specifically for him. Josh's storylines from season 1 to 4 are much more consistent within his character that we come to know than seasons 5 through 7. They definitely nail it at times in 5 through 7, but I have much more grievances with a lot of storylines in that time period. Aaron Sorkin, who has been friends with Bradley Whitford for years, was quoted once as saying that he doesn't understand why Bradley Whitford isn't getting better roles. Sorkin, as a writer, really understood Bradley Whitford and what was Bradley Whitford's talents as an actor. The vulnerability, the kindness, the arrogance, and all of this really is portrayed just wonderfully by Bradley Whitford. I mean, what do you know? Having a great actor portraying your character gives your character more depth and more relatability. Who would have thought? Like, there's a reason he won an Emmy, so yeah. Okay guys, that was my whole spiel on Josh Lyman, kind of a deep dive into his character. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you disagree, if you think Josh is a piece of shit. Like, that's cool. You can think that. I don't agree with you, but you can think that because it's the internet and everyone has opinions. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want to see more of me rambling incoherently to a camera, because I feel like that's what this video was, but hopefully it was a little bit enjoyable. But yeah, bye!